Hello, BookTube. I'm not the only booktuber who has been engaging in some tag necromancy. Today I'm going to be doing the reader problem tag. The tag was originally created by Tiffany of About to Read, and the tag has been resurrected by Olive of a Book Olive. So let's get on with the questions. Question number 1. You have 20,000 books on your TBR. How in the world do you decide what to read next? It involves becoming a hive mind entity and possessing 2,000 bodies, and then dividing that 20,000 books into 20 books per body. That should, I think, work. And then from there, basically, whatever each individual body desires to focus on at that particular time. Question number 2. You're halfway through a book and you're just not loving it. Do you quit or are you committed? Oh, I would have bailed well before the halfway point. Sometimes I will sort of skip ahead or what I call blitz ahead, but normally if I'm not loving a book, I will just bail, and usually that bailing comes significantly sooner than the halfway point. Number 3, the end of the year is coming and you're so close, but so far away on your Goodreads reading challenge. Do you try to catch up, and how? I don't use Goodreads. I've heard a lot of nightmare stories about Goodreads, so I will never touch Goodreads with a metaphoric 10-foot internet pole. But I do set, to a certain extent, reading challenges and goals. This year I would like to read over 100 books. I'm well on my way to doing that. But if I say I wasn't, it was because, I'm reading good books and I'm luxuriating in them, I wouldn't try to speed it up. If I try to rush to catch up, it will induce a reading slump. It will induce me to be a very crabby, disagreeable reader till the end of the year, and that's just not healthy. So I'll just, if I can't reach my arbitrary numeric read number, it doesn't really matter. It's not like there's anything major in reading X number of books a year, except for saying I read X number of books a year. Number 4, the covers of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? I don't care. If you've seen any of my book tours, some of the books I have that are in series match. The Legend of the Condor Heroes, they match. Some of the books that I'm blanking on the series name, but a series that starts with The Tiger's Daughter, they match. But I have some that don't match. The series by Bradley Bolio, I have the first book in paperback, the second book in hardcover. I think I might have the third book in hardcover or paperback. I have the Ricardo Pinto series, I'm blanking on its proper title, but the first book is a mass market paperback. The second book's a hardcover. And then the third book's more of a trade paperback. Land Fit for Hero series by shoot, I am blanking on his name. Let me check real quick. It should be sorry about that. It's the Richard K. Morgan's Landfoot for Heroes series. The first book, that still remains, is trade paperback. The second book, The Cold Commands, is, I think it's The Cold Commands, is in hardcover. So I really don't care. There's a part of me that would like to have some sort of consistency, but I really don't care. I mean, my collection is to be read, not to be displayed. That's why they are in my bedroom and not in the living room. Number 5. Everyone and their mother loves a book you really don't like. Who do you bond with over shared feelings? It's a good thing that I'm okay with pretty much raging about a book I don't like with myself. No problem there. Yeah, I could just, pretty much rage or rant about the book to myself if nobody likes it. Or I could do it on BookTube, where it's almost guaranteed that somebody will share my opinions. Anyway, number 6. You're reading a book and you are about to start crying in public. How do you deal? I just start to sniffle. I mean, maybe try to take a few deep breaths, maybe stop reading for a little bit, but I mean, it's no big deal. Number 7. A sequel of a book you loved just came out, but you've forgotten a lot of the prior novel. Will you reread the book, skip the sequel, try to find a synopsis on Goodreads? What is it about Goodreads? Crying frustration. I can usually remember a book pretty well, but I might go ahead and reread it just for the sheer heck of it. Particularly if I loved the book, I will probably reread the sequels. Or let me rephrase that. So I'll reread the book and then read the sequel, and then kind of when the next book come out, read the first book, the second book, and then on and on until the series finishes, assuming I still like the book. There are some cases where that's not true, that I will love a first book, will not particularly care for a second book, may drop the series, but I mean, I can remember the book well enough that I won't need to go back and reread or anything like that. Number 8. You do not want anyone borrowing your books. How do you politely tell people nope when they ask? Well, nobody asks me to borrow books. Nobody likes the books I like who can physically ask to borrow my books. I did let my mom read Catch and Kill, but that's about the only book I have that she would actually like. Anyway, number 9. Reading ADD, also known as attention deficit disorder. You've picked up and put down 5 books in the last month. How do you get over your reading slump? You keep chugging along. Maybe change up the genre. I mean, if you're reading only one genre, change it up, or just keep going. I mean, it's bound to happen that there will be a book that will please you. I usually get reading some point during the summer, the last few years, and I just kept going. Just read a book. If I don't like it, bail, and then keep trying, and eventually there will be a book that will please me. And then just read that book, maybe read more books like that, or whatever. But I mean, eventually the reading slump will end. It's just keep working at it. Because I mean, maybe it's not you having reading ADD, it's maybe those books aren't very good. Number 10. There are so many new books coming out that you're dying to read. How many do you actually buy? Well, my book buying budget is $75. Not that I necessarily always stick to that, but that's what it should be. So I can roughly get maybe, depending on the genre, I can get maybe 3-ish books. More if I'm obviously getting used copies on a Libris, but mostly if it's like, say, very, very new books, I can get maybe about 3 or 4, depending. If it's like science fiction and fantasy, I could get more. If it's history, more on the lower end, because history books tend to be much more expensive, annoyingly, but yeah. So it depends. And also how much I want to, disregard my book budget. Number 11. After you've bought the new books you can't wait to get to, how long do they sit on your shelf before you get to them? It depends. Obviously, I have a little section of my bookcase right here where I put new books. Since I've started BookTube, what I do is I'll let the books accumulate here until some point in time towards the end of the month when I do a book haul, and then I put them on the shelves. And then I'll allow myself to read them. And then it depends when exactly I get to them, if there's any sort of reading projects or readathons or whatever I have going at any given time. And also there is procrastination. This book here, Post Wall, Post Square, I picked up in March or April, and I haven't read it yet. I'm planning on reading it hopefully at some point after I read let me see. Oh yeah, here. These Truths, which is right here. That's the next book I'm going to be reading. So after These Truths, I'm probably going to do Post Wall, Post Square. And then there's also The Arabs, which I got sometime earlier this year. Although there are some books that have taken me quite a while to read. There's another history of a book on Arab history that I have up here that's I've had for a few years that I need to get to. So I mean, it depends. But hopefully I try to get to them a bit sooner rather than later. Although, I mean, as circumstances allow, and whatever other books I have on my docket at any given time. Okay, so that was the reader problems tag. Since this is a relatively old tag, 6 years old, if you haven't done this tag yet, do consider yourselves tagged. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow with weekly reads and probably a brief tour of my art space. Even though, excuse me, I might want to change a few things in there first. The 2 projects I have, I'm not entirely sure I want anybody to see. I mean, they're not necessarily bad, it's just I'm not really good at portrait painting or still lifes. I'm pretty good at landscapes, but I need a lot of practice on portraits and still lifes. But anyway, BookTube, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, have a great afternoon, and please stay safe.